Coming up on NTV tonight. Have you ever bribed a police officer?
I just bribed a police officer.
Tonight, first-hand confessions and exposure of some digital bribe collecting tactics.
Chairman, I really want to plead with this committee that we should not be invited to this particular situation where then somebody just throws some spanner in the works to deny me this opportunity.
Also tonight, confident about being the SRC chairman, but
Ben Chumo, the nominee for SRC, has failed and cannot be approved.
shock may greet the former Kenya Power boss.
Also tonight, he was out to make ends meet, but nearly met his end.
Alipiga the first bullet, ambaye ilipita katikati ya mguu. Then nikaona watu kweli wako serious. Akapiga bullet ingine, ambaye iliniingilia kwa kifua hapa, katoka kwa tumbo hapa, then ndio ikanipiga mkono.
First-hand account of Kenyan suffering in South Sudan.
Some Maasai community members demonstrate in support of Mao evictions.
The people must be evicted in the Mao forest.
And the squatters are not the only ones the Maasai leaders want kicked out.
I think Murkomen should be kicked out of the majority leader.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Good evening. Welcome to NTV Tonight on what has been a very, very busy day in Parliament as the MPs probe the Salai Dam tragedy and the Roraka land scam. Dennis Okari also coming up has quite the headliner. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Flora Tieno.
I know we've covered quite extensively stories on corruption, especially touching on the big fish. But we tend to forget the small fish or the small titles. But sorry, I may throw you under the bus, but have you ever bribed a traffic police officer?
No, I haven't, but I have almost cried. For one, I wanted to pass my driving test. Yeah,
So
I forgot to put down the handbrake. And so the car kept, the car was moving, so I didn't think there was anything wrong. Yeah, but I didn't bribe him, but I almost cried.
You almost cried?
Yes.
And you got away with that?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a story that we've been trying to follow. And what tricks do you know police officers use, especially traffic police officers use to collect bribes?
Okay, this is what I've heard. I haven't done. Yeah, so you put money inside your driving license. Then you hand it, when you're handing it over to him. I've heard of people throwing money out the window. I've also heard of people now going behind the vehicle, like they're doing an inspection with a cop and then they exchange money.
Quite familiar, and this is so familiar with so many Kenyans. We've all witnessed this, but there's also another new trick that they now use. So throw that money at me. So this is
at
a police
on the ground.
On the ground. So this is a police baton. So they walk around with this, but what they do, they stick a chewing gum at the end of this baton. So because they are trying to avoid anyone filming them from seeing that they are bending to collect money. So what they do, in a nutshell, so this is the 100 shilling note. So you're the driver, you've dropped it. So what they will do is they will slightly just bend, stick it to the baton with the chewing gum at the end, and then they will pocket the money, and then they will go away like nothing happened.
I can keep it for you.
Or you can keep the money?
Yeah.
Okay,
You can keep the gum, I'll keep the money.
Okay. So that is what traffic police officers are doing. Not all of them, some of them. But just when you think you have seen it all, traffic police officers, well, not all, but a good number, keep raising the corruption bar when it comes to collecting bribes. Officers from the EACC have numerous times arrested police red-handed with money. And according to an official who spoke to us from EACC, he was saying that some traffic police now have anti-arrest squads to protect their loot whenever the anti-graft officers show up, leading to dramatic fistfights and sometimes gunfights. So in order to avoid being arrested with money, which other tricks are the police currently using? I spoke to a gentleman earlier today who fell victim to this new scheme. John is his name. We'll call him John. So John was arrested while parked outside City Cabanas area. He was waiting for a friend stuck in traffic so that they could go to work together. And after 5 minutes, a police officer in a matatu jumped out and said she was arresting him for obstruction. But here is the story.
So when the lady cop arrested me, she entered the car. She had already taken my driving license, and then she instructed me to drive to Embakasi police station. I drove. And then at the police station, she told me to wait outside the office. She had my driving license inside. She went with it. And there were also some other people who had been arrested, I think, for other traffic offenses around. And then I tried getting help from someone who knew a cop there, a senior cop there. And that guy gave me the number to the cop. The cop is on, then told me to get my driving license back. I go to an M-Pesa shop that was within the compound and draw and leave. Actually, I was told to leave 3K at the M-Pesa shop. I didn't have cash ready, so I tried withdrawing 2,000 shillings, and then the M-Pesa lady inside the police station told me, you have to withdraw 3,000 shillings. That the senior cop will not take less than 3,000 shillings. So I drew and I left the money there, went back to the office where the lady cop was. Then they gave my driving license back.
Do you feel guilty that you also did something wrong by bribing a police officer?
Yes, I do, but I didn't have a choice at that moment. I had things to do, and I just had to do that. That was the most convenient thing to do.
Was this police officer willing to book you?
She was trying to rush me. The moment they take you there, they try to make you panic. On social media, when I told my story, a lot of people came up. They mentioned the Central Police Station, Langata, and some other police stations around. Kileleshwa was also there. Yeah. A lot of people came out and gave their stories, and it's always a standard of 3,000 shillings. And also been ever arrested before in Timau, and also the minimum was 3,000 shillings, and the cop told me that we were not going to negotiate. It's not a business we are doing. Yeah.
Well, that's the story of John, but just in case you think you've seen it all again, this is another story. This is a video that was filmed by a gentleman who we're going to be talking to shortly right here in studio. He met this police officer along a road and eventually ended up bribing this police officer, and he filmed all this using his mobile phone. Just watch this.
Guys, this guy just got here and he's demanding 3,000. Sinikae kwanza. Mama. Wewe leta pesa uende mahali naenda. Hii gari sasa itafanya nini hiyo gari? Nimesema hata ungekuwa na wakati tungeenda na wewe ungeona malienda kuiacha. Nitakuja kuona tu. Nishika nao mara pili. Hata usikue msoft. Okay. Ukue more harder than umekuwa. So unaweza kushika mara pili? Tunaenda. Iko sawa hivyo. Lakini ningefurahi tungeenda na wewe, but ni sawa tu. Tuongezea mbili, hata ungeongezea 10 tungeshinda nawe mpaka jioni. Sasa tushinde na nitatafuta je pesa nyingine tukishinda na wewe mpaka jioni. Tunataka tushinde jioni. Ndio nikitoka hapa tena mwingine asiseme nini. Tutaongea, mwambie umetoka hapa. Mwambie umetoka hapa. Sawa, wewe kuwa na siku njema basi. Just bribe the police officer 3,000 shillings for him to release my car, because what he claims is that the car is road unworthy, the tires are worn out, and he needed 10,000 shillings. So because I insisted that I had no money.
So the name of that gentleman is Andrew. So Andrew was smart enough to record that and also do a voiceover on the same video, something that is very rare to see. So Andrew, yes, where were you when this happened, and how did you think of filming this and even doing a voiceover over the same video?
Actually, at first, I didn't even thought of filming it because I had visited a client just near Manji House. So I had gone for lunch and then report back to the client. So this officer waved me down. And then he started throwing some claims that my tires are worn out, my windscreen is having problems, a lot of issues. And he forced me to drive with him to Industrial Area Police Station, of which I did. But now upon arrival inside the police station, instead of him now reporting the statement, reporting the issue to the OB desk, he took me to a restaurant inside the police station.
What you've just seen in the video clip where he was having some plates and some food getting ready to eat.
It was inside the police station.
Inside the police station?
Yes. Everything was happening now inside the police station. Along the way, he was not asking for anything. So I didn't even thought of filming it because I knew, okay, if I have an issue, you'll report me and then maybe it will be a court case and so on. So upon arrival, he took me to the cafeteria. And immediately I stepped out of my vehicle. I was carrying my laptop bag with me. And there was another, sorry to use this word, but a pregnant lady talked to the police officer and told him that this model of car you have impounded is so old. And then the police officer talked to the lady by his own mother tongue. And then at the end of the conversation, he said that he lazima niikulie leo. So I thought, okay, we are in the police station. How are you going to again fleece me of my money? So he walked me to the restaurant, and upon sitting, he asked for 20,000. That was what he asked for at first. I told him that I don't have that money with me. So he took me round. He came down to 10,000. So I told him that I was very stubborn on paying the money because he was saying that if I don't pay, the claims that he's going to write, the charge sheet that I'm going to have will cost me like over 150,000. So I told him, okay, I don't have that money right now. What you do, just report the matter and let it take its own course.
So eventually, he tells you 10,000.
So after me being stubborn, he came down to 10,000. I was also stubborn. I told him I don't have any money. So what he did, he told me that call your friends, call your parents, tell them to send you the money. So I told him, okay, let me go out and check whether I can get money outside the police station. But when I was walking out, he told me, no, leave your laptop bag behind.
So you left your laptop bag with him?
So he forced me to leave my laptop bag at the table. If you look at that video, you'll see my laptop bag on the table.
So eventually on the clip, we see you getting some cash from the agent.
Yes, from the, in fact, that M-Pesa is just next to the hotel. And he is the one who directs you that go to that M-Pesa shop, go talk to your guys, talk to your friends to send you the money, then go to that M-Pesa shop, withdraw the money, you will get me here.
So how much money did you finally withdraw?
I withdrew 3,000 because when he grabbed my laptop bag, I saw that, okay, it was now beginning to get a little bit messy. And he told me, how much do you have? I told him, okay, what I can afford right now is 3,000. So when I went to the M-Pesa shop, something just came into my mind and told me that, okay, maybe I can film this. Because that police officer didn't have a badge on him, there was nothing at all that I could have referred to anyone else that he's called this and this. There was nothing at all.
So you couldn't see any numbers, nothing?
There was no badge at all. And if you ask a name from a police officer, of course, you know the answers that you'll get. So I went there and downloaded a quick application, just a spy camera, whereby I recorded.
So that's how you ended up filming him?
Yes. So I filmed him taking the bribe. And in fact, when I was giving him the money, surprisingly, he told me, I asked him, now, I've paid you this money. What happens if another police officer impounds my car again while I'm walking out of here? The answer that he told me is that, just tell the officer that you're from here.
You're from here.
So it's like they know each other. If you say that you're from there, they know, okay, you're already done. You can now go.
So another quick question. You're also guilty of committing a crime. You bribed the police officer.
Yes. And in that video, I've also said that I know it's a crime.
Why did you bribe him then?
Okay, Dennis, someone has your car keys, your driver's license with him. He again have your laptop bag. And remember, all this is happening inside the police station. I cannot say that I can walk into an OB desk and report this officer because he was not willing to report the issue. So you felt coerced into giving this bribe? So he forced me. In fact, he forced me because I asked him even, okay, you have my car. You also need my laptop bag. For what? And he told me that I need this one for surety that you'll come back with the money. So basically, he'll do everything to make you pay. It's either you pay or you pay. There's nothing else. Because I was even telling him, let's report this thing. I know It was just a messy thing.
Right. So what we also found out is the fact that most of this money transfer kiosk and agents are right inside the police stations. And we actually checked from industrial area, there's one where now Andrew went to, is right inside the police station next to the restaurant there. And we also went to different other places. In Mlolongo, for example, an ESCC official told us that most of the money transfer kiosks around that area are owned by police officers around the Weybridge area. 150 is what we were able to count within a short space of time. And there are so many around that same area. So police are not taking the money directly. They are sending people to go to these agents to withdraw and sometimes leave the money there. So from Lolongo, there are at least over 150. We crossed to a different area where we went to Embakasi, where John was also told to pay money through money transfer. In Embakasi, outside the station, you will see a board just along the fence of the station, and outside you will see at least around 15, that's what we were able to count, 15 money transfer kiosks and agents lined up along the same path. Olive.
Yes, well, John has shared his story and I did as well, and would like to know whether or not you've ever bribed a police officer or what your interaction and experiences with police officers have been. You can send us your responses and your comments to NTV Kenya on Facebook and on Twitter. That is NTV Kenya. Well, from one frying pan and into the fire, National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale says it may have been an exercise in futility for former KPLC CEO Ben Chumo to appear before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Finance and Planning for vetting on Salaries and Remuneration Commission chairmanship if a declaration by the leader of the majority, Aden Duale, is anything to go by. Duale says Chumo's arraignment in court last week tainted his name and now puts his integrity in question. Thus, his approval remains in limbo. But before the committee, Dr. Chumo put on a brave face, maintaining his innocence, while at the same time taking head-on elements he said were keen on making sure he does not get the job. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi reports.
Dr. Ben Chumo was at Parliament precincts well before his appointed time, before the Finance and Planning Committee, ready for vetting. The President nominated him for appointment as the chairperson for the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. His arraignment in court on corruption charges last week took center stage as members sought to know if the matter will create conflict with his new assignment if offered the position.
Consistent with the Constitution, one can only be innocent until he's proven guilty. So that's what, and I appreciate that this is the house that formulates law in this country, and therefore the spirit of constitutionalism in this country should prevail.
Dr. Chumo maintains he is carrying a burden that is not his, as charges against him are about things that happened when he was not at the helm of Kenya Power and Lighting Company, and it was only a matter of time before he is cleared by the same courts.
I sometimes tend to think that somebody who might perhaps be looking at this opportunity that you're about to give me and trying to take it away from me.
But National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale will hear none of that.
Whether he appears before the committee or he doesn't appear before the committee, I can comfortably say that Ben Chumo, the nominee for SRC, within the reading of the Constitution and the Public Parliamentary Approval Act, has failed and cannot be approved by the relevant committee that is vetting or the House.
According to Duale, this is a lost chance for Chumo as he has already contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution that touches on integrity and has failed the test.
From where I sit, we will give the appointing authority, and that is the President, another opportunity to forward another name.
Chairman, I really want to plead with this committee that you should not be invited to this particular situation where then somebody just throws some spanner in the works to deny me this opportunity. I really deserve it.
At the committee, Dr. Chumo maintained consultations with MPs on their salaries would always be key.
I know from my experience, Chairman, that if you are going to make a decision about a major institution such as Parliament, it will be very, very important to involve them so that, you know, they anticipate a decision before it is made, and so that they know the consequences of such a decision before it's made.
But even as the committee now retreats to write its report and ready it for tabling in the House next week, the ex-electricity boss's chances of rising to the helm of SRC appear to have already gone up in smoke.
Kennedy Murethi, NTV.
Well, that was one certainly interesting vetting session. I heard he said he's worth 212 million shillings. Well, our question of the day has to do with our lead story, which is with the small fish police officers and the new tactics they're using to obtain bribes. Dennis Okari brought us that story, or rather he continues to bring us that story. And our question to you was, have you ever bribed a police officer? And how did you go about it? Have you had an experience with this new method of giving police officers bribes where money doesn't actually exchange hands? Well, Dennis asked me that question earlier, and I said I haven't bribed an officer, but I have almost cried for one. Dennis, who is still in studio, have you ever given a bribe?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question, but my circumstances are a bit different. I didn't cry, but eventually I talked my way out of it. Just to finalize with our guest today, whose video we played for you much earlier, where he filmed this police officer getting 3,000 from him. Do you have friends, from that same question Olive was asking, do you have friends who have also gone through this same thing?
Yes, I have some friends who have also gone through the same thing, but I don't know if from the same police officer or different police officer. But I have some friends.
But there's no exchange of money. It's through those money transfer agents.
Let me tell you, the way you can talk your way out of that issue is by paying. So you can talk all the words you want, but at long last you'll pay.
So if you're arrested again, will you still give that same bribe?
Dennis, one thing, I was willing to go to court.
You're willing to go to court?
I was willing to go to court at that time. The officer was not willing to report the issue, so there was no way I could have gone and reported myself. Next time, if another police officer arrests me, let the law take its course. Okay.
Right. Let the law take its course. Those are the words of Andrew. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us in studio. Back to you, Olive.
Well, John says, let the law take its course, and we are yet to see if the law will take its course where the Ruaraka land scam is concerned. Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed says the process of compensation of up to 1.5 billion shillings by the National Land Commission over the Ruaraka land was full of anomalies and was initiated by the National Lands Commission and not the Education Ministry, as should have been the case. The Senate Sessional Committee on County Public Accounts and Investments also learned that there was no urgency to pay the huge amounts involved, and yet the 1.5 billion shillings payment was processed in a record 2 months. NTV's Mel Miendo reports.
The process was initiated by the chairman of the National Land Commission. He did that in a letter that was sent to the ministry, but which we are not, which I have not seen myself. I would agree with the law that this process should ordinarily be initiated either by the Ministry of Education or otherwise by the law courts if a claimant would have gone to court.
Education CS Amina Mohammed appeared before the Senate County Public Accounts and Investment Committee and was questioned over billions of shillings unprocedurally paid as compensation, despite the fact that it had not been yet established whether the Ruaraka land was privately owned or otherwise.
What action have you taken on this particular matter, where we are paid 1.5 billion shillings and there's a further claim of 1.7 billion shillings, when it is so obvious that there were glaring anomalies in the process?
I think this is not an anomaly. It is unusual, but it's not completely outside the processes that are used from time to time. That if there's an urgent issue that must be addressed, and if the proper procedures have been followed, and everybody in the system is actually satisfied that these procedures have been followed, right, then a very strong case can be made.
In the CS's submission, the urgency of monetary allocation on a supplementary budget was possible. The caveat remained that such cases would only be necessitated if there was an emergency. In this case, no emergency had been shown to approve the hasty compensation running into billions of shillings.
Does the ministry hold the opinion now that this land was surrendered land, or does it hold the opinion that the ministry was right in having compensated the person, and thus this land never belonged to the ministry or to the schools, and thus belonged to the person who was paid?
I have not had any discussions with those that were in office then to find out, because to everybody's mind, things appear differently at different times.
The CS also said that the Education Ministry does not have the title deed to the Ruaraka land in its possession.
In this case, there was no ownership, and as I've referred to, the instruments of ownership are still not with us or with the school.
The ongoing saga facing Ruaraka Secondary School and Drive-In Primary School is what has driven the Education Ministry to appeal to school boards in all the counties to provide information with regards to ownership of land, and for those who may be claiming to own this specific parcels of land to do so as well. The County Public Accounts and Investment Committee is ready to table a report to Parliament in 1 week. Malmiendo, NTV at Parliament.
NTV Tonight takes a short break.
But coming up, Seth Olale brings us more on that dirty sugar. As promised, more on the sugar. 38% of sugar tested in 28 counties by the Kenya Bureau of Standards is contaminated and therefore unfit for human consumption.
66% of the sweetener seized by the multi-agency committee also failed to meet KEBS standards. NTV's Seth Olale with the latest update on the state of sugar in the country.
A day after NTV extensively highlighted the secret smuggling, repackaging and contamination of sugar by unscrupulous traders, Kenya Bureau of Standards through the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industrialization, Peter Munya, has released test results from 28 counties that highlight the current state of sugar being supplied in the market. 38% of samples tested from the market surveillance, which includes retail chains such as supermarkets, wholesale outlets and kiosks, failed to meet KEBS standards and was therefore declared unfit for human consumption. The contamination has been blamed on the manner in which bulk sugar was handled and stored.
Whoever is given a license to import sugar to reprocess must also have the capacity to reprocess. Because if you don't have the capacity to process, why are you allowed to import? sugar for reprocessing, and you don't have a factory for reprocessing. So those are things that we are also tightening.
62% of sugar randomly tested at various locations in the 28 counties passed KEBS test and was declared fit for human consumption. However, the ministry has not outlined the measures KEBS is taking in order to seize the contaminated sugar already in the market and being consumed by unsuspecting Kenyans.
The fact that you randomly picked a particular count doesn't mean that count is more guilty than the other. And these goods keep moving. So I don't want to kind of, give an indication that there is more one count that is affected more than the other. No. Because it's one market. Yes. And when you are doing market surveillance, you do random.
Bulk of the sugar so far seized by the multi-agency committee, which includes Kenya Revenue Authority, KEBS, Anti-Counterfeit Agency, National Police Service, National Intelligence Service and NEMA, is unfit for human consumption. 66% of the seized commodity, representing 837,244 50 kg bags of the total 1.2 million 50 kg bags, failed to meet the safety standards and was classified unfit for human consumption. The ministry stated that all sugar found unfit for consumption will be destroyed.
It doesn't matter whether it is copper that is inside it or whatever else. If it has not met the standards, because we want to maintain high standards, it is a candidate for destruction. The reason for what it is destroyed for is because it doesn't meet the standards, and therefore it is not safe for the consumer.
In the same breath, Kenyans are eagerly waiting for the final report from the Joint Parliamentary Committee that was given an extension of 10 days before tabling its final findings before the National Assembly on Tuesday. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
Various limited companies have been charged before the anti-corruption court in Nairobi for fraudulently obtaining over 15 million Kenya shillings from Kenya Power and Lightning Company through irregular means of acquiring labor and transport tenders. The accused denied the criminal charges and were released on a cash bail of 1 million shillings each.
The charges come barely a week after top KPLC managers, among them MD Ken Tarus and his predecessor Ben Chumo, were charged with the offense of procuring substandard transformers worth over 409 million shillings. The other managers who were charged alongside the CEO include Commercial Services Manager KP Mungai, Finance Manager Joshua Mutua, ICT Manager Abubakar Swale, Regional Coordination Manager Samuel Ndirangu, and Supply Chain Manager Stanley Mutwiri.
Also charged were couple James Njenga Muingai and Grace Wanjira Muingai and their son John Muingai, who are directors of Moa Trading Company Limited, said to have received millions of shillings for supplying substandard transformers.
Well, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i this morning appeared before Parliament, and he ordered investigations into the alleged forced compensation by the Salai Dam owner Perry Mansuk to victims of the Salai Dam tragedy in return for indemnity.
The Senate ad hoc committee investigating the Salai Dam tragedy expressed concern over the Cabinet Secretary's ignorance on the fact that administrative officials brokered the deal that could free the owner of the illegal dam.
NTV's Charity Mwangi brings us more.
I do not have information within my office right now on unethical conduct on the part of national government administration officials. I will ask an investigation to be done. I will ask the regional security team in Rift Valley to investigate these matters, now that it's explicitly clear.
But members are ready to interrogate this
matter. It is this statement that stirred up committee members as they tried to figure out how the national security chiefs were unaware of a meeting that allegedly took place between Salai Dam owner Perry Mansuk and victims of the Salai Dam tragedy, with the area county commissioner allegedly having taken on a strange role, that of legal advisor, said to have persuaded the victims to sign indemnity forms.
That event has been confirmed by Mr. Pentel Mansuk, number 1. We have statements from witnesses, number 2, 3, In fact, there are some people who have, in fact, gone to court to say they were put under duress. The matter is in Naivasha. Number 4, the Director of Public Prosecutions was here. He's about to charge one of those officials.
We arrive at a proper token of goodwill gesture payment to the people and to ensure that they are given something, because the suffering that they were undertaking and going through was enormous, and their needs were, sir, immediate. At the end of the day, we had to ensure that when these payments were made out or cleared, that there was some form of fallback for us.
But all that seemed to have escaped the cabinet secretary in charge of security, causing great frustration among members of the committee. At the center of this exchange of money are victims rendered homeless, jobless, and for 52 of the orphans left behind, they are deprived of the security of their parents, who are among the 48 who died in the tragedy.
Allegation you're getting from the Senate, from the people on the ground, on what the officers are doing. I think people have been asked to step aside for much less.
Committee members called upon the CS to suspend the Nakuru County Commissioner, among other administrative officials who participated in the indemnity negotiation between the victims and the dam owner Perry Kasagara Mansuk. The Cabinet Secretary instead asked for a 30-day investigation period that would best equip him to take action against those found culpable. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Well, earlier we asked you the question, have you ever given a police officer a bribe, and what was that interaction like? We have a few comments already back, and we have one from, this is Francis, who says, I was arrested at the junction of Enterprise and Likoni Road, which is currently under construction. The officers laid a trap to any driver trying to maneuver the way out of the traffic mess. He took my DL and arrested another vehicle which he boarded and asked me to follow them to industrial area. PS, which I did not do. They're still keeping my driving license to date.
Well, industrial area comes up again. We have Daniel Opande from Migori County, and Daniel says, I have bribed the police severally, and the police they adapt to new methods, and they used to keep the money inside the grass. I think the law courts are best, but not bribes. Simon from Utawala says, a police from Kaloleni station arrested me at around Stadium Roundabout. I paid 1,000 shillings for me to be free. So most of the reactions we're getting, people admitting, yes, they have done this before and sharing most of their experiences. We also have someone here who says, I'm also a victim and I don't know where to report, or do we just die in silence? So people are just saying that they've been victims before, bribing. And we're going to be sampling more of your reactions. One more, my experience was nasty and I can't blame guys giving bribes. When I went to court, I was slapped with a fine of 8,000 shillings. So which is cheaper, 3,000 or a whole day in court plus a punitive fine of 8,000? In fact, I had to plead with the magistrate to lessen my fine so that that's what happened instead of being charged in excess of 20,000 shillings.
Well, it looks like our systems also need quite a bit of work. We're taking a break now, but I'll be back with the business news. Welcome back, and we start the business news with poultry matters. The county government of Kiambu is planning to introduce legislation that will enable animal feed producers to improve the quality of their output. The move is expected to eventually lead to lower operational costs for poultry farmers, hence higher profits from selling their eggs. This comes in light of the influx of eggs from neighboring Uganda. There was a harsh exchange of words at Wangige Market between farmers who sell eggs sourced from the county and those who import from Uganda. Those who import eggs from Uganda stand accused of undercutting the business of those who receive their eggs from the town's environs. Such was the level of the matter that escalated till the county's Deputy County Governor James Nyoro had to intervene to settle it.
Hata kama mayai itakuwa inatoka Uganda kwa vile inasemekana kuna free market. Iangalie vile kutakuwa na ile kichungi ya kuchunga isije kwa wingi, na kama inakuja kwa wingi iangalie vile na sisi itatuteremshia bei ya chakula ndio tuwe tuna compete na hii mayai kutoka Uganda.
If you improve the quality, if you reduce the price, then the cost of producing our own eggs will be slightly lower, and therefore it will be able to compete with eggs coming from outside. But overall, we have to have a very strong association, and we also have to levy a particular charge for the eggs that are coming from outside our county.
Well, we are next with geothermal matters. Well, the geothermal development company GDC is set to begin drilling as part of its exploration activities in August. This is expected to pump in 300 megawatts of electricity to the national grid. Speaking during the Kabarnet Agricultural Trade Fair, GDC General Manager in charge of drilling and infrastructure, Engineer George Kinyanjui, said opening of a road network and installation of water systems along the operation areas has been completed. The company will draw its water from Lake Baringo. GDC is planning to drill its prospects in Korosi, Silale, Paka, Kapedo and Bogoria under Baringo Silali project.
These include putting in place 120 kilometers of 10-inch pipe and also constructing 9 storage tanks, each with a capacity of 4.4 million liters. Works on this water supply system are at an advanced stage. So far, 5 of the storage tanks have actually been constructed.
Well, good news for Kenya as the government heaves a sigh of relief following an extensive audit of the process by the International Civil Aviation Organization that has given it a score of 78.15%. There is still some homework it needs to do in order to improve on that score, with one of the key changes being sought after being to put in place legislation to make the Air Accident Investigation Department completely autonomous from the Ministry of Transport. Well, we take a break, but coming up, we have Otwal, who is in Eldoret.
Welcome back. Now, every year, a number of Kenyans leave the country for neighboring South Sudan to earn a living. But some have found the going tough, especially because of animosity from the locals.
Many have returned nursing gunshot wounds, and others did not make it out alive. Joseph Kariuki is among the lucky few who lived to tell his horrific tale to NTV's Sharon Baranga. He is nursing a gunshot wound after he was attacked in Juba.
The last 20 years, Joseph Muriuki has lived in Juba, South Sudan. He left for the country in July 1996. He has always had arguments with his wife to relocate back home, and on 30th June this year, he tendered his resignation. He was in the last phase of clearing and handing over to a person taking over from him when he was involved in a near-death experience.
So alipiga the first bullet ambayo ilipita katikati ya mguu. So venye liliturn ndio akapiga bullet ingine ambayo iliniingilia kwa kifua hapa, katoka kwa tumbo hapa, then ndio ikanipiga mkono.
Muriuki was lucky his vital organs were not affected. He arrived in the country last Friday, and he is not the first Kenyan to report of harassment from South Sudan. In the recent past, Kenyan media has been awash with horrific stories about Kenyans who dared to step outside the border.
10 cases that have...
Jeremiah Chege lived in South Sudan for 5 years. He left the country after war broke out and is now the chairman of Kenyans formerly working in South Sudan who are evicted by war.
I don't know why they target Kenyans. I don't know, it's because sometime the Kenyan government hosted the rebel leader, or rather the former rebel leader Riek Machar, into Kenya or something.
Nicholas Mundia had invested heavily in the hospitality industry. He lost a big chunk of his investments in South Sudan. Forced to return home, Mundia could only bring back his vehicles, but he has resorted to hiding them as he cannot freely drive them. Registering them has proved to be an uphill task.
They check the number, the rotation number. They tell you maybe it's anything. This rotation number says that you imported plastic shoes, and it has come from the office. They impound your vehicle. So many of our vehicles are impounded. After struggling for so long to get the 10,000 so that you can renew the document, you don't know whether it is fake or genuine one, because the fake and genuine are coming from KRI offices.
When they come here after the break of the civil war there, they ran off with whatever they could salvage, particularly their vehicles which they drove through Uganda all the way to Kenya. The least we expected from our government is that they helped to settle, have these vehicles registered.
A majority of Kenyans who make it back home fault the Kenyan embassy in South Sudan for doing little to help them.
Yes, we have other nationalities like Ethiopians, Eritreans. We also have Ugandans and a bit of Tanzanians and Congo people. Their authorities represent their people fully.
Sharon Baranga, NTV.
To address the Kenyans.
Well, Joseph Kariuki's tale is certainly harrowing, but we're glad he made it out alive. We take a break now, but...
I'll be back with the sports news.
association with Imperial Leather.
Time now for sports. We were unable to go with Brian O'Toole from our NTV studios in Eldoret, but we can still do it from here. We start in Algeria, where Maria Brunella is making a name for herself and Kenya as she swam her way to a third medal and second gold in the ongoing Africa Youth Games. This as the Kenya boys hockey team made it through to the semis after winning 3-1 against Namibia. In beach volleyball, the boys team is through to the finals after winning 3 of the 4 matches played so far. The athletics team continue their training and as they prepare to start their competition later in the week. This year's Term 2 secondary schools national games will see newcomers seek to give renowned teams a run for their money. Our reporter Gabriel Kudaka visited Moi Girls and Hill School in Eldoret to witness the final preparations ahead of the week-long games that kick off tomorrow.
At Hill School in Eldoret, final touches are being done ahead of Tuesday's start of the Term 2 National Secondary School Games. Several schools representing their regions have already arrived and spent the better part of Monday fine-tuning their skills. Both veteran and upcoming teams are promising to stage stellar performances.
And as much as people count us as first-timers and maybe underdogs, we believe we are going to pose a challenge. Not only a challenge, but a challenge up to East Africa. The last time we came to nationals was in 2010, and we had to sacrifice. We have put a lot of practice, we have done everything right.
Our first match will be with Alliance Girls National School. Trained for long, and we are just hoping for the best for us.
This year's Term 2 Nationals, which are sponsored by Coca-Cola, have been revamped with numerous disciplines added. The students will compete in football, volleyball, racket games, rugby sevens, netball, cross-country, heptathlon, decathlon, and under-16 football boys and girls. The week-long nationals will be used to select teams that will represent Kenya in the East Africa Secondary School Games in Rwanda in August. In 2018 World Cup, where football giants such as Brazil, Germany and Portugal were sent packing by minnows such as Croatia, this year's Term 2 secondary school games are promising to pull surprises. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV Sports.
With the KCB Karen Masters joining the Sunshine Tour, Kenya already a sporting powerhouse is positioning itself as a premier golf destination. And as Warodha Kiru reports, the challenge now is with the Kenya Golf Union to raise the standard of the sport in the country.
South African Michael Palmer may have won the KCB Karen Masters, leading his compatriots in taking 9 of the top 10 slots, but Kenya's standing in the world of golf has been hugely boosted.
It's joined, if you like, the big league of sporting events on the golfing calendar.
The KCB Masters teed off last year as a celebration of 80 years of the Karen Country Club. In its second edition, the event has become affiliated with the Sunshine Tour, and that has taken it to a whole different level.
This year we've grown to 156 pros coming up from South Africa, but we've also been able to have a lot more Kenyan pros, 32 of them, and we had 20 pros from different countries around Africa.
With the Barclays Kenya Open during the European Challenge Tour and the Karen Masters being part of the Sunshine Tour, Kenya is positioning itself as a premier golf destination and angling for a piece of the sports tourism cake.
Sports creates friendship. So we are creating friendship, but apart from friendship, we also create, it's a huge economy. Sports in the world is a very, very big economy.
Yeah, it's a great layout. It makes you think. You can play it so many ways, and I mean, you can be aggressive, you can be conservative. I came here 2 years ago for the Kenya Open, the Barclays, the Challenge Tour event, and yeah, I loved it. It's a great place, people are very friendly.
A case for concern, however, is Kenyan professional golfers' inability to compete with the big boys. At the 2018 KCB Karen Masters, only 5 Kenyan pros made the cut, with 50-year-old Dismas Indiza, the best placed, finishing 33rd.
Now in its second edition, the KCB Karen Masters has grown by leaps and bounds. Its second edition has been affiliated to the Sunshine Tour, and that raises the profile of golf in the country. This is all in an eye to the lucrative sports tourism sector. Warote Kiru, NTV, at the Karen Country Club.
Finally, Kenya Sevens had a horror show at the World Cup, winning once and losing 4 times to finish 16th. In contrast, the New Zealand men and women's teams both defended their titles. The All Blacks' 33-12 victory over England in the men's final in San Francisco is our moment of the weekend.
60 seconds. Joss. Good feet, Joss. Connects on the inside. This is it. This is the World Cup. New Zealand, they are...
Which was, have you ever bribed a police officer?
And generally, what was the experience? We had John, we had Andrew giving the experiences right here in studio. And we'll just sample a few of your comments. And well, not surprisingly, at least someone was saying 99.9% of all drivers, if you've ever driven on Kenyan roads and you've come across traffic police officers, you've either been tempted or have bribed police officers. So we'll just go through a few. There's so many, it's overwhelming, but we'll just go through a few. I was in Mombasa about 6 months ago. 2 police officers arrested me at gunpoint, took me and a female friend to a dark corner and demanded I give them 5,000, failure of which they put me in a cell. I was arrested outside, there's a nightclub in Mombasa, at about midnight. I heard that they target people from up country.
Okay, I also have one from a gentleman who says, interesting how John's experience resonates and resembles the case at the Nanyuki police station, where motorists are asked to get into the police station and at an M-Pesa shop to deposit or withdraw a bribe. The M-Pesa shop is next to a hotel.
Well, last one. Yes, I did bribe a week ago outside Pangani police station. I was directed to an M-Pesa agent right opposite the Pangani police station gate. This is John from Thika. And the last one here, stealing has gone M-Pesa way. That is how we have been in the country. Well, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for your feedback right here. So much, but because of time, we can't read all of them.
Yeah, but if you'd like to see more of those, be sure to go to NTV Kenya on Facebook and on Twitter. That is now officially the end of this bulletin. A great many thanks to our sign language interpreter, Flora Tieno.
My name is Dennis Okari.